What's up guys, welcome back to the HQ. Picking up where we left off last episode. So we did a test. We removed the little bit of PTFE line that goes from the regulator to the fuel rail and replaced it with just quite a long line of push lock rubber hose with AN6 fittings on the ends. Now the rubber obviously gets quite a bit more give as far as expansion, whereas the PTFE is obviously braided. It's not meant to expand really at all. And what we found was that just giving the fuel line that little bit of extra ability to move and expand and contract and everything like else, everything else just took away the issue we're having with the surging and stuff at that sort of RPM. So it is in fact obviously just hammering the fuel rail. So that means that our fuel pulsation dampener is going to fix the issue. So now we just have to wait for that, but that means that issue is sorted and we will be able to just go on with our tune once we get the pulsation dampener in there and get it all sorted out. So for now, run-in's complete. It can come off the dyno, go back on the hoist, do oils, check over everything, just do a complete check over pretty much the whole car. And yeah, change oil, cut the filter open, check it out, get it all back together, get it back on the dyno on some E85. I'll go talk to our guys about coming to gas up the AC still, but yeah. All right, so this is our latest fascia revision. So I built up that pin just a little bit while we were making the revision anyway. Obviously it wasn't worth doing a whole print to fix that, but while we were doing a revision, it was worth just making it just a little bit bigger. So as you can see, we've taken a little bit off the mount face on the left hand side there, which is going to help the actual fascia fitting around it. And then we've added this little bit of a rib to add quite a bit more structural integrity to this top part where it was a bit thin, which is where it's broken on the last two revisions. So hopefully this one's got it all sorted. We can get it in there and it'll all be one piece and happy. Righto guys, so we've got our rubber line back in for now while we still wait for our pulse dampener to just get this thing hopefully back on the dyno and hopefully actually do some power runs and see what this thing's going to do in 98, which would be freaking wicked. So you can see how the new dash fascia all worked out. Absolutely stoked with it. It's exactly what I had in my head. Rex has pretty much put all of the interior back together now, so you know, apart from tuning this thing, getting this pulsation dampener sorted out, getting the bonnet back on and a few other bits and bobs, we're there pretty much. So freaking awesome, stoked with it, keen to see what it'll do. Righto guys, so still haven't received our pulse dampener or anything, but anyway, we're still continuing on with this tune. Mostly all pretty good. There's a few things that I just want to talk about, but for the most part, it's going pretty well. So at the moment, we are sort of what I reckon is getting towards the end of the 98 tune, which we are at 465-ish at the wheels, which, considering the driveline, you got to remember that this isn't a Falcon. There's a turbo 400 and a 9-inch, and these, what are these, 20-inch, 19s, 18s, steel wheels. These things weigh a ton. So you know, between the driveline we got here, that's, you know, it's cooking. She's making some pepper. In a Falcon, that'd be 500 wheel all day, which on 98, it's pretty good. Right from the start, right from the beginning of this build, you know, we weren't aiming for big numbers. We weren't looking for big numbers. So much like big V80 out there, the plan was to try and put together a combo that didn't necessarily make huge numbers, but was just an animal to drive. Much like the Cruiser, you know, 2.5 ton and 500 wheel horsepower, it still runs 11.9. So, you know, the idea is to a car that's gone a 60 foot really well, come out of the hole, hit like a freight train, not necessarily chasing peak numbers because it is just a stock bottom gassy. So considering that is what we did, you know, it's a G35-900 with a fairly small housing on a 6 boost. You know, it's not a huge hot side or anything like that.
Oh, what size is the housing?
It's a T4.8.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah, that's right.
So we went the small housing on the G series with the really efficient wheel. Because yeah, the idea was to have this thing come on straight away. We did spec the converter in a way that it would be on straight away, much like the way we set up a few of our heavier cars, which I'll talk about in a minute. But I think for 98, that's about as far as, you know, I'm pretty happy to pull it up there really for 98. It doesn't really want to respond much to more boost. It's not loving more boost or more timing. And the issue that we are starting to have is basically boost control with the 6 boost the way it's set up. So after yesterday's quick little session, this morning we actually went down one more to the 7 PSI gate spring. So we had it, Rex tried the 10 yesterday, but still no good, and we ended up right down at the 7 PSI spring. And even on gate pressure, what we're at, Rex, about 12 or something.
No, 13.
13 pound on gate pressure.
14.
Yeah, so just on gate pressure with the 7 PSI spring, still, you know, 13, 14 pounds. So, and the issue is obviously the way we've got this set up, trying to get the timing right, trying to get it to stop making noise, pulling timing is actually obviously compounding our boost control issues. So don't get me wrong, guys, 6 boost manifolds, value for money, awesome, great material, never cracked, super reliable, but it is a pretty well-known thing that they just don't have a very good priority flow to the gate, and they do inherently have some boost control issues due to that. So yeah, a few dramas there. I just feel like we're probably at a point now where we're just walking that line between timing and boost and keeping this thing happy on 98. It doesn't seem to really want to respond to, or responding very well to any more boost or sort of timing or anything like that. So, you know, considering where we're at, the plan was 600 on E85. So, you know, at 465, you know, high 400s on 98, I think is about sort of where we were expecting it to be. As you can see, power curve is exactly how we expected. The way we set up this this combo, it's snappy. It's gonna be the result that we were looking for essentially. So pretty happy to pull it up there. So you'll notice that we're in chute 8, and the reason that is because we're not super stoked with this converter. So we spec'd the converter. We asked for I think about a 32 to 3400. Which by our calculations was pretty much when this thing was going to be basically on gate, and the idea was to, you know, have a streetable car, but snappy, good converter, pretty much have it on gate once you're off the converter sort of thing. But it is really loose. It's much looser than what we had spec'd. Obviously, people that build these converters, they build them the best they can off the specs that you provide for the car, and we don't expect that they're always going to be perfect every single time, but it is quite a ways out, and it is flaring a lot more than we'd like. That's why we've put it in chute 8F to get a quicker ramp rate, so that it's not holding it for so long on the converter, because it doesn't really need to, but obviously being in chute 8F, we're still getting all of our corrections off the weather station and everything the way that we should be. So we're still in shootout, we just changed to chute 8F so that the ramp rate was shorter. And that's because of this converter. So if we had a lot more time, we would probably like to actually pull this converter out and send it back to get fixed and redone. You know, however, it's not ridiculous. Obviously, being loaded up on the dyno with us tuning it here is realistically probably the hardest it's ever going to get pushed. He's never going to really drive it on the street the way that we're, you know, tuning it and loading it up like this. So basically, it's not outrageous. It's just a lot looser than we had hoped for. So the plan is to finish it off, get it back to the customer, see how he likes it driving it on the street, you know, actually driving it. Like I said, I don't think he's going to flog it. I don't think he plans on, yeah, hammering on it or leaning on it too hard. So like I said, this is probably the hardest it's ever going to get driven is on the dyno. So we'll see how he likes driving it on the street the way he intends to drive it, and if he's unhappy with it, we'll worry about it then. But at the moment, we don't have the time to pull the converter out, send it back. It's going to be, that'll add another couple of weeks, which we just can't, we don't have time for. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about. Not super stoked with the converter. Pretty happy to pretty well pull it up about where it is for 98. And yeah, try and party on the 85. So it is just a stock bottom and gassy, guys. And like I said, we got frickin' 20 kilo wheels on it, T400 9-inch. You know, there's a lot of really taxing things in the setup, so you know, I'm not even that worried if we don't make 600 on E85. I've really, it's not really what it's about. We're not chasing the big number, but we have achieved what we wanted to achieve in that with this like smaller hot side and the way this converter is, this thing is going to be really fun to drive on the street. It's one of those cars where you put people in it and you tell them how much power it makes, and you take them for a drive and they'll be like, no way that this only makes that much power, which is exactly what everyone says in the big old white whale out there. So alrighty guys, so that's pretty much it for the 98. So ended up sort of, yeah, did make 500, but it was like a weird squiggly. I'd call it 480 consistent at that sort of 16, 17 pound. As you can see, even at 19 pound, not really making any better numbers. It's not that happy to keep going. So for the 19 pound setting, we would be basically instructing the customer that if he wants to run it at that sort of boost, make sure it's on E85. Only run the 1 and 2 maps, which are lower boost settings on the 98. And if he wants to run 20 pound, make sure it's got E in it. But anyway, so still, like I said, 480 at the wheels based on this setup is a good number. We're pretty happy with that. Like we talked about, if it wasn't turbo 400 9-inch and these freaking huge steel wheels,
Yeah,
just in a Falcon.
It'd be like, that'd be easy. Like in a Falcon, that'd be easy 450.
Yeah, with in a Falcon with the ZF6 and an M86, yeah, you'd be looking at 550 wheel, which is, you know, that's pretty good. So, yeah, for a stock bottom gassy, I know there's a lot of people out there that push them real hard. I know there's people out there that are making really good numbers on them, but for cast pistons, still, knock is going to be the killer. So there's no point in trying to push it too hard on 98. E85 is obviously a lot safer for knock and inherently a lot safer for cast pistons. I know the rods can handle a lot more, but that's about where we want to pull it up on the 98. So we'll see what we do on E85, but yeah, like we said, guys, the idea of this car was never to be a dyno queen, was never going to be a huge power number car, and our aim with the combo was to make it so that it was fun to drive for the power it was going to make. All right, we've got E85. Yeehaw! Yum. What do we got?
76.
Oh yeah,
Close enough. I was just how rich it is.
the modelling.
Yeah, it seems like it's a fair way out. Let everything warm up and we'll go from there.
All right, guys, and just like that, the thing is tuned. Still a little bit of, probably just a little bit of cleanup to do in the cruise on the E85 and stuff like that, and obviously got to do cold start on E85 and things like that.
Probably just have to do a little bit of work on the scaler.
Yep.
Bring it back down.
Bring it back down, yeah.
But the modelling seems pretty close.
Yep. So yeah, a few things to do, but I mean, after all this time, after 2 years, we've got a result on both fuels. What a time. Our little idler setup for the belt has literally caused 0 issues. We haven't even had to adjust that idler. The belt hasn't caught an edge, hasn't skipped, jumped, frayed, thrown a belt, hasn't done anything. It's been freaking perfect. So, you know, so nice when things like that go right. But yeah, it's surreal that after all this freaking time and all this work, we've actually got a result for this car. What a time. What a time. So this is where we ended up. So of the 3 boost settings on the EA5, 530 on your low boost, 544 on your second, and then your high boost, which is up around that 19 pound, 572 at the wheels, which, as I just explained about on the 98, we're pretty happy to pull it up there and leave it. I don't really see the need to go pushing it much further than that. You know, like I've said already, this driveline is very, very taxing.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3. That's getting shorter as we go. So.
Yeah, so tyres are pretty unhappy as well.
Yeah, I reckon that's a bit of probably part converter, and then it'll be part wheel spin, because those tyres are like
real hot.
So
maybe realistically closer to 580.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But yeah, like we said, guys, turbo 400, 9-inch. These wheels weigh a ton. It's got a big converter in it, much bigger than we had really ordered, which is what we're unhappy about. So it is flaring to like, what, 4,500?
5 if you really
if you really boot it. So like we said,
it'll be an animal.
Yeah, like we said, it's probably never going to do that on the street, because you'd be hard pressed to load it up that hard on the street as we're loading up on the dyno. That's what I was talking about. So we'll just see how the owner likes it as he drives it the way he's going to drive it. On the street, it's not going to flare that hard. But yeah, with this size converter and this turbo and stuff, it is going to be just a weapon on the street. But yeah, 570 on the 85. Yeah, through the driveline that it's on, for a stock bottom gas Barra, we should sort of never have a problem there. And yeah, more than happy with that result. So what a time. Sweet. I don't even know, what else do you say? It's been 2 years of blood, sweat and tears and an immense amount of hours. I can't even, stopped even adding the hours up, but it would be, yeah, it would be probably at least 600 hours deep.
Intake air temps up in the 60s too.
Yeah, okay, so intake air's getting pretty high, which we're hoping wouldn't be the case. It is quite a big intercooler, but
yeah,
anyway.
33, 32 at the start.
Yep.
And then topping about 62, so it's...
Yeah, so the big intercooler's not really doing that well.
A good plasma man or something.
Yeah, good
do it some wonders.
But anyway.
Particularly 98.
How are coolant temps and stuff?
Yeah, pretty good.
Pretty good with that fan working now. Yeah, we did have an issue with one of the pins in the fan plug had pushed out, so only one fan was working. So
yeah, it's pretty good. Recovery's pretty good. Like
yeah,
it'll sort of top like 93 at the start of a run, top about 100 at the end of it, but then a couple of seconds vital, it'll bring it back down. Box and oil temp, engine oil and trans oil temp are both great.
Awesome.
Yeah, really good. They're not hot at all.
There you go, guys. Yeah, awesome to see some results. Super stoked. Obviously, we're not finished. A few things to button up. Still got to get the AC gassed up. Still got a few things to finish off. So we're not finishing off the video just yet. But yeah, goodness, it feels good to have some results out of this thing and to know that the motor that I built is good. Yeah, freaking awesome. So we're just going to give it a few minutes for the tyres to cool down. We're not going to really change the tune or try and turn it up at all. We just want to let the tyres cool down. We're going to hit it again with some reasonable grip, hopefully, and Rex is just going to rev it right out to limiter, and yeah, we'll see what it makes without the tyre slip, because these are all pretty close together. That's why the tyres are getting pretty warm, pretty slippy. So yeah, we'll see what it does. But like, if you chuck that on a hub dyno, you're eliminating these huge big wheels that are really heavy, as well as a little bit of tyre slip. You know, you probably go 610 to 620, I reckon, which, yeah, happy days. But yeah, just interested to see what it'll do without the tyre slip. right, guys, what a result. So what we found was because the E85 had so much more timing in it, we weren't having the same boost control issues. So it was actually, you know, we were actually sort of 2.5 PSI below target. So yeah.
That 572 run's only about 18 pounds.
Yeah, yep. So let the tyres cool down a bit. So Rex threw another degree of timing at it, plus upped our boost target to try and get boost on the E85 back to where we wanted it, around that 20 pound. And then obviously you saw me trying to cool that intercooler down as much as possible and keep those ITs cool. And boom! 617, frick me sideways. So yeah, that's like probably about 650 on a hub. Maybe not quite 650.
I would.
You reckon?
So. I reckon. These wheels, you have no idea how heavy these. Do you ever lift these wheels when they were off?
Yeah, they're very heavy.
Fucking heavy.
But either way,
like 640. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, 640 to 650 probably on a hub, which for a stock bottom gas barra, yeah, that's it. So what are we at here? About 21 pound ended up.
20. Just over 20.
Oh yeah, just hit 20 there.
And then
so.
it is starting to drop off, so that's that slightly small housing.
Yep.
But it's sort of dropped down to maybe 19 here. So that's pretty good.
Yeah, so we got the number, but obviously with all other factors considered, when it's on the street, IRTs are up and all that sort of thing, it probably is going to be closer to that sort of 590, 600. But we did manage to get the number on the dyno, so happy days. But either way, amazing result. So stoked. All right, guys, here this morning. Apparently, hopefully our AC guy's going to be here this morning to gas us up, which is one of the last sort of things we're really hoping goes all right. But anyway, hopefully, we'll see. But we were just getting the old pre-run, the post-run up from the old 186. Okay, that's a bit funny. I think that's pretty hilarious. That's probably the one we'll print out for him. How funny. So it is pretty funny to think about the fact that between this run and this run, literally the only thing that stayed the same is like the cosmetics to the car. It's a whole new driveline, new diff, new tail shaft, new box, new engine, new computer, everything is different except for just the fact that it's a wagon and the interior and paint and stuff. But apart from that, the whole thing has changed. But hey, you get that when you build. Righto, boys and girls, so we've received our pulse damper, so it's all installed, ready to go. We're about to test it on the dyno, make sure that it also fixes the issue the same way the rubber fuel line did. And we've also received our new lift pump, which we're gonna try, see if it is a fair bit quieter for this thing and try and shut it up a little bit, because that lift pump's really, really loud. So we'll give that a go. So at the moment, we'll test this, make sure it works. We'll chuck it back on the hoist, put that other fuel pump in and give it a try. And after that, it's just a matter of buttoning a few things up and this thing's ready to go home, except for waiting for our guy to come and gas up the AC setup, which we've been waiting for, yeah, like over a week, which is annoying. So hopefully you can get here today or tomorrow, because we're pretty much out of time now for if anything's wrong with the AC system because of how long it's taken. So frustrating, but it is what it is. Not much else we can do about it, except for hurry up and wait. Anyway, we'll see how this goes. All right, guys, so a little bit of an interesting development this morning. It's been this long taking me just to cool down so I can film this because it makes me want to throw my head into a bucket of nails. But this is the reality of this industry and this work and cars in general. So HQ is, as you've seen, tuned, made awesome power, we're all good. Last thing we needed to do was gas up the AC system, and then it was pretty much ready to go home. It was due to get picked up on Friday. Owner's already booked flights. For reference, today's Tuesday. It was due to be picked up in 4 days. Yeah, owner's already booked flights to come down and get it, all the rest. We had been trying to get the AC gassed up for sort of 2 weeks, just to make sure there wasn't going to be a problem with the AC system, but it's taken our guy this long just to get here and do it. But anyway, that's beside the point, because what actually has happened is actually nothing to do with the AC system or him at all. But he came here, gassed up the AC system. It gassed up awesome. It was looking great, really cold, took heaps of gas, like everything on the gauges. It was all looking mint. The AC system was looking great. Finished gassing up the AC system. Rex and him were sort of sitting here having a chat. I wasn't here. I had to take my young fella to the doctor. And it just started dumping water all over the floor. Just pissing water out. Was coming out the overflow tube from the heater unit, or the AC, the whole AC unit inside, just pissing out water. And it just didn't stop. It literally just drained the whole cooling system. So the brand new heater core in the vintage air on the dash unit just split or something's happened and it just pissed out all its water. So not actually anything to do with the AC system, just happened to happen at that time. So I suppose it's actually probably pretty lucky that it's happened now and not while the owner was halfway home, because that would have been very bad. But nonetheless, absolutely freaking infuriating. So these units are apparently sealed, they can't be repaired, so we have to replace the entire unit. They've sent one, it's on its way from Victoria. The issue is that apparently you have to run coolant or antifreeze through these systems. Apparently you can't just run water. Obviously a lot of cooling systems, they have that. They have those stickers, they have those precautions to just run antifreeze or coolant. Generally speaking, or what we figured, is that's always more to do with the corrosion resistance of coolant and corrosive stuff, where, you know, obviously a brand new engine, new head gasket and stuff, we like to do a few heat cycles with just water first, before we obviously go putting coolant in them. For two reasons. One is that coolant can do bad things to the glue in multi-layer steel head gaskets. It is best for them to actually go through some heat cycles and set off the glue and everything else that's between the gasket layers with just water. Secondly is obviously then if you've got a leak, you don't just waste a heap of coolant. If you get a leak, it just leaks water, fix the leak before you go coolant. But usually we do a couple of heat cycles with just water. It's just standard procedure. But apparently, obviously, for whatever reason, I don't know what seals, I don't know, there must be something in that unit. I'm not going to pretend that I know, because I don't. I don't know a lot about that sort of thing, but either way, apparently you cannot run just water through those systems, and apparently this is a pretty common issue. So that's that. But regardless, it's going to cost us like another week when the owner's already booked flights and all the rest, and it's just so frustrating, so incredibly frustrating. Anyway, given the fact that we do have like a week where we're gonna have to wait for this heater system to get here anyway to replace it, there is just like a little pinhole in the sump from where we welded the plate to make it fit over the cross member. And obviously we didn't have time to fix it, and it was only a little pinhole, so we did just put silicone over it for now. Silicone appears to have fixed the leak, but obviously we are a little bit worried that in future this might not be the case. Silicone could break down. I don't know, there's a lot of things that could happen. So given that we do have the time while we have to wait anyway, we're thinking about ripping the motor out and just pulling the sump off and fixing that. You know, its motors unfortunately has to come out to do it because we can't get the sump off while it's in the car like that. So unfortunately that is just the case. Motor has to come out, but that's what we're thinking at the moment, is just do that while we wait anyway. That way at least it's fixed properly. It wasn't a big enough leak or a big enough deal for us to worry about it while we were pushed for time and there was a deadline and it was getting picked up and stuff. But yeah, if we've got to wait for other stuff anyway, we may as well fix it properly while it's going to be here. So yeah, annoying setback. Can't tell you how frustrating it is, but again, it's the nature of this business, it's the nature of this industry, it's the nature of cars. Very, very annoying. All right, guys. So after finding out a bit more about the unit, how it works, why this happens, sort of does make a lot more sense. So what happens is that the water that runs through the lines in the heater core freezes with the AC on, and it swells and splits the lines. That's why it's important to use antifreeze, because it doesn't freeze and then swell. So that's why it didn't happen until we had the AC system working and gassed. That's why, which means if we did get the AC system gassed when we had hoped to 2 weeks ago, we would have known about this problem a lot earlier. So that's frustrating and annoying, but it is what it is. So they're sending another one, it's overnighted. Hopefully it's here. I mean, overnighted doesn't really mean much to us because of where we are rurally. It may be overnight to Brisbane, but then it's still usually another 2 days from there to here. So yeah, frustrating, annoying is what it is. Hopefully it's here in time. Anyway, in the meantime, we're gonna pull this motor out, start getting this sump sorted. Before we pull it out, probably just do a quick compression test after tune, do some checks before it comes out. But yeah, we'll try and get this out and get this sump sorted before, and then get it all back in, and then just wait for this friggin' unit to get here. All right, guys, gift that keeps on giving. This is definitely where we didn't intend to be at this stage. But hey, you get another good look at Rex's beautiful, highly modified pickup tube to suit our highly modified sump to suit this freaking car, which from the start, a lot of you probably haven't seen for a long time. There are a lot of new viewers that probably never even saw that if they didn't watch the old episodes of this build. So just how much work actually went into getting this thing low enough for the bonnet to close is immense, huge. Anyway, the result of our little compression test, because this thing was breathing pretty heavy, that's why we decided to do a compression test before we pulled it out. And number 5 is a bit sad. It's definitely not as happy as the rest of the cylinders. So with all of the fuel hammer we were having and those issues we were chasing at the start, it's very likely that 5 could have been pretty lean and caused some issues. Cast pistons. Yeah, Rex is not convinced that it was anything to do with that. It was just basically the way we were trying to tune it on the 98 and dealing with the boost control issues and trying to find that middle ground. It probably just rattled. But as you guys know, cast pistons. The other thing is it could have just been a damaged piston that I missed when I built the engine as well. You know, I might not have inspected that piston close enough. I might have missed some slight cracks in the ring lands. It does happen. But anyway, that's what happens with cast stock bottom end stuff. Regardless, we're going to pull, well, seeing as we got the engine out anyway to fix that sump issue, which is outside at the moment, but decided while we've got it out, we'll pull the head off, just pull number 5 out and have a look. While we're waiting for this new unit anyway, we'll hunt down another gas rod and piston and replace it before it goes back together, hopefully before this AC unit gets here, so it can all be back in the car and sorted. But you know, needs to be fixed obviously. As far as a bit sad, low on compression, it shouldn't be. So one thing we need to fix before it goes. So we've got at the moment 3 days to get this apart, get 5 out, find another rod and piston, get that back in, get the head back on, get it all back together, get it back in the car. Hopefully by then we've got our AC system back, we can get that back in the car and have it all buttoned up ready for him to take it, because he's still planning on flying down on Friday. So anyway, worst case, he's got somewhere to camp out for the weekend, because we actually have a wedding to go to. We are committed to this wedding for this weekend. We are part of the wedding party, so we can't bail on that. So it's one of those weekends, rare weekends, where we just can't work through the weekend. So unfortunately, even if it gets here Friday, he's probably going to end up having to stay at a mate's place or something for the weekend before we can get back here on Monday afternoon and finish it off for him to take it. So anyway, that happens. It is what it is. We got to the end of our dilemma with the fuel hammer, so that's no longer an issue. And obviously now that the tune's finished and where it's got to be, the rattling and stuff's not an issue anymore. So if we just get this one replaced, we should be all well and dandy and be on our way again. So anyway, happy days. We'll get there, pull this apart, and we'll inspect what the hell the damage is. But we are suspecting broken ring lands on number 5. So as far as the oil and stuff that came out of the engine, not very milky. Obviously there's quite a bit of condensation, and that is just from E85, particularly last few startups moving it around. You really got to give E85 time when you start up to allow it to evaporate the condensation that it absorbs. But obviously with this piston or this particular cylinder being pretty sad, there's probably quite a bit of fuel getting past the rings and into the crankcase, which means that it's diluting the oil quite a bit with the 85, which is then going to cause or exacerbate the issue of the E85, or the oil having E85, and then in turn condensation in it. So definitely condensation in the oil, but nothing milky. So yeah, odd one.
Yeah, cooked.
Yep. Ringland.
So
there she is.
There's another one. Yeah, it's fucked. Fucked.
Yep, bit unhappy that one.
Yeah. Debt. Yep. It's pretty much exactly what I expected to find.
Cause of death.
Yeah, death by debt.
Death by detonation. Righto guys, that's a pain and a little bit more work than we had anticipated, but still not a huge amount of work to get that back together. We've already got head gasket on the way to get that fixed. Hunting another Barra gas 3R rod and piston, which we found a couple. It's just a matter of who's going to be closest for someone to go pick up tomorrow. That suspect looking bore that had that piston in it, we'll just give it a quick drill hone. Obviously a drill hone's not ideal, but as far as the rest of the hone job on that block, I don't think it's going to be any worse than what was already there. We've also got another set of rings already here, so we'll probably just do new top and second ring, file fit, a little bit of a quick drill hone, a fresh piston and rod, send it back on its way, head back on. And while we have it apart and we have the opportunity as well, as I've talked to you guys about already from painting the engine, it was painted in good equipment enamel, which for all intents and purposes, you should not need to etch prime. You're not supposed to have to etch prime equipment enamel. However, since we painted it, the alloy things like this cover have just been not very good. We've had a lot of issues with them just flaking stuff. Like I prepped them best I could, and then you're not supposed to have to use etch primer, but it just didn't work out. So while we've got this stuff off anyway, my plan is to try clean this up a bit. We do have etch primer here, so I would like to repaint this using some actual etch primer while it's off. So, you know, all of the iron stuff that was painted was fine. There was no issue with that. The block's fine, all of that's sweet, but things like the sump and this front cover, which are alloy, it just didn't really agree well. So I would like to repaint them with some etch primer, and hopefully they come up a bit nicer and a bit hardier while I have the opportunity while it's all apart. So we'll do that tomorrow. Get ourselves a rod and piston tomorrow, quick drill hone, and then file fit some rings. Once we get a rod and piston back, it can get slammed back together with a new head gasket, and yeah, we should all be pretty much back together, ready to go back in the car, I would assume, before this new AC unit's actually going to arrive anyway. So another one of those rebuild in a week when it's meant to be going home. But anyway, it's obviously better off for it. It's meant to be right. But anyway, that's I guess the problems, the limits, things that happen when you're playing with stock bottom end stuff. These things do happen, particularly a platform which we're not very familiar with, and the issues we had originally trying to get it running with the fuel hammer and things like that. So a few learning curves there. Not a big deal, no harm, no foul. It's not a huge cost to fix, and we should have it done in a couple of days. So we'll crack at it.